Alrighty, y'all. You see it. You know what it is. We here.
That's it.
And we back and better than we ever been.
Halfway through the season.
All right. I voted. Did you vote? Happy Election Day, by the way, to everybody. Everybody get out there, vote, mobilize yourselves. All right. Let's use our voices. Everybody wants to complain about the way things are. This is our only opportunity to do something about it. So everybody get out there and vote, man.
Make sure you guys take care of your mental well-being too, because today is going to be a stressful day. It's going to be a stressful week, I think, because I don't think you're going to. Usually, by the time we go to sleep, we're like, all right, we know who the next so and so is going to be. I don't think it'll be that way this time. So make sure you take care of yourselves this week. Mentally, it's going to be a very big challenge for a lot of us here in the U.S. So take care of yourselves.
As we promised last week, we're going to do a power ranking this week. We're going to do something a little bit different since we're at that midway mark. Do something a little bit different. Me and Andrew, we collaborated together and we went over all 32 teams. And
surprisingly, a lot easier than I thought it would be.
I didn't think it was going to be as smooth as it was, but
I made my list, sent it to him. He's like, "Yeah, it looks good. I just switched out a few things." We looked at the switches, and I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense. I'm alright with it." So this is what we think. The NFL lines up as for right now. So Colin's going to read the first 16.
So we're going to go from 1, or do you want to start at 32, go to 1?
Ooh, let's go 32 to 1. So I'll start then.
So Andrew's going to start. He's going to go from 32 to 16, and I'm going to go from 16 to 1. And we're both going to chime in. And we're pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to say the team, where they are, and why. And we're going to keep it nice and simple and precise. We're shooting for 40 minutes or under. If we can, we'll see.
You guys in the future already know what's up.
So tall task. So we'll see. But let's jump right in, my man. Let's go for it.
Number 32, I don't think it's any surprise. You got the New York Jets. They're looking... they put up a fight against the Bills a few weeks ago. Looked very, very bad against the Chiefs. But something... and the Jets make me appreciate the NFL a lot, actually. Because you look at Clemson versus Georgia Tech a few weeks ago, it was like 75 to like 11, something like that. When you have the best team in the league like the Chiefs against the worst team in the league easily in the Jets, it was close-ish for like 2.5 quarters, and then obviously talent came out and showed out.
Which it will.
And it will, right. So shout out to the Jets for making me have faith in the NFL. But Jets are obviously the worst team.
They just have no talent. No talent. Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, and I don't think we really need to say too much more than that.
I feel bad for Sam Darnold because he needs a good team to be able to succeed, and this is not it. My brother and I were watching the game this weekend, and
they had glimpses.
They keep running the same quick out play.
A 7-yard out all day long.
Every single play.
So predictable.
It's so strange. And Sam Darnold thrives when he's throwing the deep ball. He's making plays happen. The Jets they're not in that position.
Yeah, they got to get rid of Adam Gase. I told you, at the end of the season, he's gone. They won't fire him in the season. At the end of the season, he's out.
So that's when I say, so we've seen a lot of teams fire their head coaches, right? What do they usually do that next week after they fire?
Usually win.
Get a dub. The Jets' only chance at getting a win is if they fire Adam Gase, and then that next week they can get a win. I believe it.
I bet you
but they won't do it.
Yeah, I don't think they want to.
I made a suggestion to my brother. I said, Jets need to release their punter and their kicker. You don't punt anymore, and you don't kick field goals anymore.
Whoa.
That's it. You go for it all the time. You go for 2. Figure something out for kickoffs. I don't know, but you guys need to just put yourselves in better positions.
That's bold.
It's funny.
That's bold. Jesus.
Let's hop to 31, Jacksonville. They looked good week 1. Have not looked good since.
No, and this is what I think we both thought they were going to be. They have some talent in certain places. Gardner Minshew, he's decent. He's decent. They have a good wide receiver core, in my opinion. I just think that defense, they can't hold up, and I don't think that offense is consistent enough to give the defense a chance to even catch their breath.
They are a more competitive Jets.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, more well-coached.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Arguably.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect way to put it. More competitive version of the Jets. They don't have the talent to keep up.
Yeah.
And like you had said, in the NFL, talent wins most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of it. Sometimes you'll scrape by, but a lot of times talent will win. That's why Kansas City always comes out on top. They are so loaded. So that's all I got for now.
Jacksonville's in the Justin Fields sweepstakes.
I would agree. Yep. And they'll take them too.
Yeah.
They're on the mark for a quarterback, no question.
So from 30 to 27, we have the entirety of the Nfc East Division.
Are you surprised?
The order may surprise people, though.
Sure.
I'll just list all of them off, and we'll talk about that whole division as a whole.
You can clump them all together.
30, I have Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
29, I have the New York Giants.
Yep, I like that one.
28, I have the Washington football team.
Mm-hmm.
And then 27, I have the Philadelphia Eagles.
Let me make a bold statement here.
Sure.
The Washington football team could win this division.
Absolutely. 100%.
And when I say could, I'm leaning towards them winning the division.
Yeah.
Because if you look in terms of consistency of play,
right,
and knowing what to expect from a team, they've been the most consistent team. I mean, the Jets, they're growing and they're getting better every week. You know, they played the Buccaneers. The Giants, sorry.
Yeah.
They played the Buccaneers tough last night.
Yeah.
That was a game.
Absolutely.
Right? But I don't know if the New York Giants are going to be able to improve enough to get there.
Correct.
Over the Washington football team. But the Washington football team, they're in perfect position. Everybody's sleeping on them.
I think when you look at this division as a whole, the only team that has a very difficult time being competitive in games is the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to look at the new Dallas Cowboys. They have a rookie quarterback playing, Andy Dalton. But great, the quarterback situation is not the issue here.
No.
Quarterback is not the problem.
Clearly, right? They play the same game every single time. Let's go down by 20 points and see if we can come back.
Right.
Every game is like that.
Your ability to come back has been hampered because you don't have Dak Prescott anymore. But at the end of the day, quarterback play is not the issue.
No.
Running game's an issue. I don't know what happened to Zeke. Offensive line, obviously hampered by injuries.
Four.
Receiving core is great.
Right.
That's fine. Receiving core is really good. The entirety of the defense is absolutely terrible.
I will say though, Jalen Smith.
Sure.
The Wolfman. 55.
Wolf?
No. Vanderbosch.
Oh, yes.
The Wolf guy, whatever his name is. And then DeMarcus Lawrence.
Sure.
They actually played. They actually played football for once.
They have pieces, but at the end of the day, like, as a collective, they don't play well.
Listen,
at all.
They go to games to kick field goals.
It's
Let that sink in. They go to games to kick field goals.
I think they haven't scored more than 9 points. I'm sorry.
They haven't scored a touchdown in 3 games.
Correct. And I think they scored more points in Dak Prescott's last fourth quarter than they have in every game after that.
Combined.
Right.
Yes.
It's not a good situation for Dallas.
Terrible.
It's absolutely awful.
And like I said, that ship is sunk. It's
over.
over.
It's done.
It's done.
The Giants are getting better every week.
Yep.
So give it to them. Still not good, but they're better every week. They gave the Bucs a run for their money.
Absolutely.
Washington football team, another one of those teams is like really good defensive squad. Offense is having a really hard time keeping up.
Kyle Allen, just don't make mistakes and it'll be okay.
And the Philadelphia Eagles are
so inconsistent.
Very inconsistent.
Oh my goodness.
But they're inconsistent in a sense where they're still leading division 3-4-1.
Which is sorry.
Absolutely. And that's why we have them at 27, 28, 29,
right.
30.
And another thing, if Carson Wentz doesn't start playing better, he's going to get benched. Mm-hmm. You can hold me to that.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there.
Jalen Hurts, get him in.
Why do you draft him if you're not going to put him in the game?
Right. 26, we have the New England Patriots.
That's my heart, man.
If you asked me this 3 weeks ago, I would have said you're crazy.
Yep.
But the Patriots, and you know it's bad when Bill Belichick even comes out and says, well, we sold out for the last few years trying to get a Super Bowl. What do you think's going to happen?
Yep. Which he is right.
He is right, but when Bill Belichick says it, you know that you're not in a good position. Mm-hmm. Julian Edelman's on IR.
N'Keal Harry was out.
Cam is not playing like Cam anymore. They have no weapons on that offensive side of the ball. There are rumors that they're trying to deal Stephon Gilmore.
Yep.
And he's the best player on their defense. So, the only thing I could see that the Patriots started okay, but they're only getting worse every week.
Here's what I think is going to happen, unfortunately. And again, it pains me to say it. I don't want to see this happen, but we had talked about this years ago. It's coming. It's coming. We knew this.
Sure.
You can only go so high before you drop down. Right. This is the NFL. You have to come back down to earth, and it's rebuild time for the Patriots. It is. Here's what's gonna happen. They're shipping out all their talent. Let's accumulate draft picks, and here's what's really hurt the Patriots. Which credit to Tom Brady because he disguised a lot of this. They draft awful. Mm-hmm. They haven't had a good draft since Isaiah Wynn, the offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. That was the only good draft pick they've had in the past 5 years.
Right.
They draft terribly.
But they get so many picks. Where's the disconnect?
Right? I don't know. That's Belichick.
Sure, he's the GM.
Yeah. So.
My brother and I were talking about it again. I said, well, the Patriots play the Jets twice for the rest of the year, right? tank the rest of the season, lose to the Jets twice. Jets get 2 wins. You still only have 2 wins. You take the last place in the league.
Imagine the
tank for Trevor
Lawrence. Oh my!
It won't happen.
Imagine how salty the whole NFL would be. How the whole world would be.
So mad.
Go from Brady to Trevor Lawrence.
But hey, we have the Patriots above every team in the NFC East, so
that's true.
They're still better than if they were in that division, they'd win it.
Most likely. I mean, you could put a lot of teams in that division, they would win.
Number 24, we have the LA Chargers. They are a team that...
Houston Texans?
I'm sorry. Number 20, I skipped 25. 25, Houston Texans.
Gotcha.
Yes, let's talk about the Texans. They had a bye week this past week,
yep.
so they're a little out of our memory a little bit, but we have to remember the Texans' only win was right after they fired Bill O'Brien.
Yep.
That's it. Deshaun Watson...
I feel so bad.
They have a decent receiving core. He's running for his life every play. David Johnson's doing okay, but like when your offense doesn't have an offensive line and your defense is not playing up to snuff, for the first 4 weeks of the season, they didn't have a single turnover. Once. And when we make these power rankings, we're not just thinking about the previous week or the previous 2 weeks. We're talking about this past whole 8 weeks, your culmination of work. This is a bad football team, and the only reason I put them above the Patriots is because they have talent.
Yeah,
they have Deshaun Watson. Yep. They have a good receiving core. They have David Johnson. They have J.J. Watt. So it's like they have the pieces, and when they play well, they play like a really, really good team. But at the end of the day, like they're just not really a good football team.
That's the thing what's frustrating with them. You see that a lot with the NFL this year. Inconsistency. You know, that's a key word. That's a word that's going to keep coming up, and I think in these power rankings. Inconsistent play. You know, I feel bad for Deshaun Watson because, like you had said, he is running for his life. Every play, and it's not a winning formula.
They just gave him all this money, and then they're not protected.
Exactly right. I never understood that. You give your quarterback a whole bunch of money, then expect him to change the world with the same team he had last year.
Right.
You got to give him better. You got to give him more, especially on the line. Absolutely. He has enough in terms of weapons on the outside.
And it doesn't help that they got caught with their pants down this offseason when their now fired head coach and GM traded away
pretty much sabotaged
their
the whole
best
team.
player on offense. Right. So
and gave him away for a carton of oranges, honestly, and some crayons.
If you think about it, right? Yeah, I mean David Johnson, an okay running back at this point. He was good, correct. And I think they got a first round pick as well with it. But still, a first round pick does not replace DeAndre Hopkins.
It never will.
It doesn't. Granted, there's a lot of wide receiver talent in the college pool right now. But again, like DeAndre Hopkins is probably number 1 or number 2 receiver in the league.
And that's the thing, right? I've never understood that. You take the risk of getting a draft pick for something certain that you know this guy
already have it.
This guy's a bona fide stud. You have him in your locker room.
Jets found the same thing with Jamal Adams.
Make that work. You gotta make it work. You can't let talent like that walk out the front door. You cannot do it because what happens? You're a bad football team.
Right.
You can't let stuff like that happen.
No. Now we have to 24.
Now we go to the Chargers.
LA Chargers.
Yep.
They are. We have them under the team that's known for it, but this team is progressively being known for choking.
Yeah.
4 straight losses. The four losses that they've had in a row in the past 5 weeks.
They
had a 16-point lead, and they lost 4 games.
Yeah, and you know how much do you want to attribute that to a rookie quarterback? I'm not really on that.
It's not him.
Exactly, that's my point.
He's rookie of the year at this point.
That's my point, and you look at the defense, right?
Yes.
What we had talked about weeks in the past, right? Scare defense is not a winning formula.
Yep.
What gets you the 16-point lead is going to get you home.
Yep.
Keep on the pedal. Don't take your foot off the gas. You're going to lose. I mean, take notes from other teams. The Atlanta Falcons. Look at the Lions. They've had a lot of leads that they spit away. Look at the Bengals. They've had leads that they spit away. And the Chargers are following in the same boat. Yep. I mean, I don't know what people need to see to understand. You got a 16-point lead from doing X. Don't go to Y.
Right.
Stay on X until they force you to change.
Right.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
And they're not exactly against high-power teams either.
Right,
they're losing to teams that they could
disappointing.
Very well beat. Right, exactly. It is very disappointing because you look at the Chargers and they have such a bright future with Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler. He's out right now. Keenan Allen.
Right.
It's such a Mike Williams, such a good football team.
Yeah, Mike Williams is ridiculous.
Really good.
Oh.
Derwin James obviously out. That's a big hit to that defense.
That hurts.
But you gotta. It really comes down to coaching. Anthony Lynn's gonna have to answer some serious questions.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't think they're going to get rid of him anytime soon.
I don't either.
I think he's a good football coach.
He is. He's just got. I think he's still trying to figure out how his team works.
Yep.
But if he doesn't figure out by the end of the season, he's going to be in trouble.
Absolutely. The next team, the only reason I picked this team above this team is because they actually have pulled out some good wins lately, which kind of makes their first half season a little bit better. And they've done it after firing their head coach, the Atlanta Falcons.
Mm-hmm. Very bittersweet with them, because like you had said, Andrew, some two good wins against two fairly competent teams, right? Mm-hmm. Every team in the NFL is competent, but the way
the Jets.
Right. But the way they throttled, I don't remember who they played the week after they fired Dan Quinn, but they stomped them, dominated, right? Yeah. They had a 16-point lead, and they stretched it to 16, and then they kept it the whole game. It never got under 16 points.
Right.
They got a lead, they asserted their dominance, and they held it. Mm-hmm. Now, why couldn't they do that last week?
Right.
They spit it away again,
And now this past week, they beat the Panthers.
Right.
So they're still very, like you said, inconsistent, but that inconsistency has started to level out a little bit more as they've gotten rid of their head coach. So it's looking better for the Falcons. I think they're set up for a stronger finish.
They have talent. They just need to figure it out.
Matt Ryan's leading the league in passing yards.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you have that much on the outside, you better.
Julio Jones, I just saw the stat today, has in his career 29 games with 100+ yards and no touchdowns.
Oh.
The next closest person in NFL history has 22 games. So they gotta find a way to get him the ball in the red zone. He's a good receiver. It's not his fault.
Mm-hmm.
But the Falcons, they're looking like they're set up for a good second half.
Agreed. Yep.
Number 22, we're looking at the Detroit Lions. Again, inconsistent, having a hard time finding out. This is the inconsistency level.
Right. I would say kind of the middle of the pack sort of team, where they could pull out a game here and there, but they're not going to wow you. They're not going to blow you away. Nor are they going to really lose in a fashion that's going to surprise you either. Mm-hmm. These kinds of teams, I would say from 25 to 15, these are all teams that they could pretty much do anything and it won't surprise you because you sort of expect it. This is really the middle of the pack.
They're the teams that are going to beat some good teams and you're going to be like, well, okay, all right. And then they're going to be teams that lose to bad teams and you're going to be like, all right, whatever.
Right, exactly. And I think with the Lions, they need to lean more on the run game.
Yep.
The run game is strong. They need to use it more.
Montez Sweat not Montez Sweat, I'm sorry. What is their young guy's name?
32.
Swift, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift. Right?
Montez Sweat is a
defensive lineman
on a football team. I don't know where I got that from. He's a good young back. I mean, other than him dropping a touchdown in week 1, which would have put them in a lot better position halfway through the season.
Yep.
They look good. Offensively, they're a good football team. Mm-hmm. Matt Stafford is a menace. Every time I watch him play,
he can deal.
He's the gunslinger of gunslingers.
Yeah, I think what the Lions need to not do is they need to not fall in love with him though, in the sense of don't put too much on his plate. Right. Make it reasonable, right? Don't have him throw 45 times a game. That's a lot of attempts.
We say this with every team. The better your running game is, the better chance you have to win football games.
I would even say balance. Right?
Sure.
Balance your attack.
Right.
Keep the defense on their toes. It makes everything easier.
Yep.
The teams that fall into one category usually end up in the middle of the pack because they're predictable. Mm-hmm. Predictability, again, is not a winning formula in the NFL. You look at the top 10 to 5 teams in the league, they're unpredictable. They keep you on their toes. You don't know what to expect. They can change their identity. These teams in the middle of the pack can't do that, and that's why they're there. Right?
Yeah.
That's exactly why they're there. Come on, man. Yeah.
Segue. We got the 21 Cincinnati Bengals.
I like this team.
They are the first team, including the Steelers, to not allow the Tennessee Titans to come back. Titans came back against the Steelers. They just didn't seal the deal with the kick.
I would say, honestly, the Bengals did a better job than Pittsburgh did.
The Bengals kept the foot on the gas offensively.
This is what I'm talking about.
They kept it on the gas. Tennessee, as soon as I saw the score going into the fourth quarter, I was like, Tennessee's going to score more points. Can Cincinnati keep that gas pedal and score more on top of it? And they did. Joe Burrow, again, is getting better every single week.
I love to
You
see
look
it.
at this young kid during week 1, he looked bad. Like he looked like he had some little tiny bit of sparkle in there,
Mm-hmm.
but he was just bad.
Right.
He's coming into his own. He's looking good offensively. That offense, the receivers, when Joe Mixon's healthy, the running game.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dangerous,
so
dangerous offense.
I was talking smack about Giovanni Bernard and he went off.
He did.
He went off. I was like, well, that's a kick in the nuts.
Yeah. And the Titans did this to every single team where they go down and fourth quarter starts. All right, now we start playing football. And the Bengals said, nah, not today.
And again, that formula doesn't work. Let's see how big of a lead we can give up, and then let's see if we can claw back.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a formula that's
Right.
going to work. Because you look at a team like the Bengals, who I wouldn't classify as really good. They closed the door on them. The second that fourth quarter ticked, the game was over. The game was over. It never felt like the Tennessee Titans got any momentum there at all.
And that's why I have the Bengals higher than a team like the Chargers.
Agreed.
Where the Bengals don't really blow leads. The Bengals are in kind of comeback mode.
Exactly.
Where they do kind of come from behind and kind of get those wins. But this game, they got it and kept it.
Yep.
Which is a really good sign.
And that's a new look for them, too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's a really good sign for a team like this that's young. If they can keep on this trajectory,
watch out.
They could be vying for, all four
wild
teams
card
that
spot,
are making the playoffs. I mean, granted, they still only have 2 wins, but they're looking better as a football team.
Agreed.
We are getting into this territory of potential wild card teams.
Yep.
And I think the Bengals are just on the bottom fringe of that category.
Exactly, I'd agree. Yep, I would agree.
Now we have the Minnesota Vikings at 20.
Oh, what a confusing team.
They are a very confusing team. They beat the Packers and they beat them bad.
Yeah.
And Dalvin Cook looks amazing.
He ran a show.
The reason this team can be dangerous, is because if Dalvin Cook can get going, Kirk Cousins doesn't have to try so hard.
Exactly.
And then he doesn't throw 3 picks in the game.
When he doesn't have pressure, he functions well. We talked about this at the beginning of the season. When Kirk Cousins doesn't have any pressure on his shoulders, very similar to Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
When the pressure isn't on them and they just need to throw it around, sling it a little bit, perfect. That's where they flow. That's where they're good. But that's the thing. Dalvin Cook needs to stay healthy.
Yes.
And that's where I'm nervous.
Sure.
Because if he's going to be a bell cow, he's going to get hurt. It happens every year.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Absolutely. And I think that the only reason I have the Vikings behind some of these other teams is because they do only have a few wins under their belt.
And they don't have a defense.
Correct. But the defense showed up against the Packers, which is strange. Aaron Rodgers, and we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers later, but he confuses me a lot, which is why I think we might have had some disagreement on that the top 10 will get there. But the Vikings were able to kind of take advantage of Aaron Rodgers. They forced a lot of mistakes out of him, got pressure when they needed to. If the Vikings, again, can stay on this trajectory, they're looking like they could be a playoff team.
Yep, and I think the thing with the Vikings that might surprise people, and it surprised me, is that, that front four, they got pressure to the core. They got 2 Aaron Rodgers, right? And the thing about it is even though they got pressure to Rodgers, they didn't really impress me. I think the pressure really kind of hid and disguised some of the other things that were going on, because Aaron Rodgers would have torched that secondary.
Right.
If he had time, kiss that game goodbye. Right. And I think the other thing too is that defense had time to breathe. Throughout the season, that defense has been on the field so much. With the Vikings, they're one of those teams that 3-and-out kings, right? And because they were able to assert themselves on the ground, they became a well-balanced attack. Time of possession was high.
Right.
That makes it easy for your defense. Get some rest. Review some film. See what's going on. Make adjustments. You can't review the tape in 3 plays.
Right.
You can't do it. There's not enough time. So if they can play that formula of football, they have a chance.
As of right now, and I know people are going to say, like, you just said Vikings could be a playoff team. It's weird. We have them ranked as the 9th best team in the NFC.
Right.
That's 2 spots away.
Yeah.
Considering, granted, one team from the NFC East has to make the playoffs.
Sure.
So maybe
they're going to have a playoff game. How sad is that?
It is sad.
How sad. That's sick.
Let's hop over to the 19th spot. We got the Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos. I'll tell you what. Drew Lock actually showed a little bit of life. Granted, I didn't like how he looked in the first 3 quarters, but that 4th quarter, he kind of lit the fire a little bit. Which again, it was good to get the win. I didn't like how they got the win.
Sure.
Right? Because again, that doesn't really strike me as a winning formula. A lot of these teams, they get one-dimensional, they get behind,
sure,
and then they decide to make a change.
Right.
And a lot of times, especially now that we're hitting this midway mark where teams are starting to figure out who they are, that's not going to work anymore.
No, it's not.
It's not. So they're going to have to figure out what their identity is. Do we run or do we pass?
Right.
What is our strength? Let's play to that. The other side of the coin, just do your part.
Yeah.
Right.
They are a confusing football team in that their defense is stout. Defense is good.
Yep. It's a bend but don't break.
Absolutely.
And you give up yards, but when it comes down to it, you make the stops you need to make.
Absolutely. And they did that towards the second half of that game.
Very impressive. I like that a lot.
But it's disconcerting that the offense can't maintain some sort of consistency. I still find it strange that they don't want to just hand the ball to Philip Lindsay more.
Right.
He's a playmaker. He will break out at least one run of over 20 yards per game. Like, it's almost guaranteed if you get him the ball enough. And then get Melvin Gordon that ball out of the backfield, because Philip Lindsay's not great at catching the ball out of the backfield. Get Melvin Gordon the ball out of the backfield. Get him on a few tosses.
Exactly, right.
That's how you use the dynamic, and then that takes the pressure off of Drew Lock.
Yep.
But Drew Lock has to fix a lot of the bad tendencies that he has.
And they're bad.
They are.
They're very rookie-esque.
He likes to just throw the ball up.
Right.
Oftentimes into double coverage or
something with the safety over the top.
Right, or a receiver who's blanketed. Right. It's not a good look. He needs to, anytime he really throws to those sidelines is when he has issues.
Scary.
He's got to try and stick to that middle of the, that 10, 15 yards from the line of scrimmage. That's where he makes his money.
Yep.
Jerry Jeudy was open on a lot of those. Tim Patrick was open on a lot of those. He's got to make that happen a little more. I think
limit the mistakes. What's going on with the Broncos? They don't trust Drew Lock to be patient enough to assert themselves running the football.
Right.
So, and they don't trust Drew Lock to come back from behind. So they're always thinking, "Dang, we gotta score points," and we don't have the time to try to assert ourselves running the ball because our defense, we can't keep them on the field that long, right?
Sure.
Because if they lit up 7 points, we might not be able to make up that difference.
Sure.
That's what strikes me. That's what I'm thinking is going on with the offense in terms of the Broncos. The defense, they're doing what they need to do.
Yep.
But I don't think your OC trusts Drew Lock enough to actually make the right plays when he's supposed to win football games.
And hopefully this game against the Chargers was a gut punch.
Get him some confidence,
Get some confidence, right, exactly. Because he is a confidence-driven individual. You can see it the way he plays.
Sometimes that confidence, it's arrogance, right?
It can get to that point, but I think he's one of those guys where the more confident he is in what he's doing, the less mistakes he will make.
Sure.
So I'm okay with it.
Right. As long as it works.
And the reason I have them above a team like the Vikings and the Bengals,
they have a better defense.
That defense is a lot better. And the defense is a consistent part of their team that a lot of these other teams don't have a consistent part.
Yep, absolutely.
So if that offense can click like it has in 3 of the last 4 games,
you got a chance.
That could be good. Yeah.
And I think the losses that the Broncos had were better than the teams that were above them. So I think that's another reason why they're there.
Absolutely. 18, we got the Niners.
This one was hard.
The reason we put them so low is because, hypothetically, if they would have beaten the Seahawks, they're probably in the top 10.
Maybe not the top. I would say 13.
I would say
13 to 10 range.
There a lot.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree.
However, Jimmy G just got put on IR again. Not on IR, but he's out indefinitely.
High ankle sprain.
Right. Again.
Jesus.
Defense didn't look good against Seattle. Granted, Seattle's going to make you look stupid anyway.
Of course.
And when I almost feel like they're setting themselves up to fall back into that initial part of the season where the only teams they beat were the Jets and the Giants. You know what I mean?
Like George Kittle broke his foot, so he's out 8 weeks.
Right. It's just like this team just like can't get the injury bug out of their way. If they were not injured, they would be a top 12 team.
I would agree. I'll say this. I think we should keep this one simple. San Fran is where they are because we don't even know who they are. They've never been a fully loaded team. They've had injuries at a position from week 1 to week 8. They've been injured at a key position. We don't know who they are.
Right.
This was the only place we could put them.
It's very middle of the pack.
That was it. I mean, there was no other place we could put them. They're so injury prone. I mean, there's nothing else we could have done.
Right.
It wouldn't make sense to put them above teams that are fully healthy and actually understand who they are.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yep. And that's where we're jumping into these definitely in the playoff hunt teams that would have to make some serious mistakes on their own part to not make a playoff push.
Mm-hmm.
And our first team in that tier at 17, we're looking at the Carolina Panthers. The loss against Atlanta is disheartening.
They should have won that game.
And they should have beaten the Saints too.
Too little, too late.
Right,
exactly. That's the name of the Carolina Panthers.
Exactly.
Too little, too late. They wait too long. They wait too long. They dilly-dally too much.
They're a good football team on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Offense needs to get going faster.
Yep.
Defense needs to make stops sooner.
Yep.
It's just very they're so close every time. Where right now, if they would have made that field goal against New Orleans, and if they would have pulled it out against Atlanta, you're talking about a top 12 team.
Right.
But because they've lost these close games, it's really hard to put them any higher.
I think for me, this is how I'd sum up the Panthers. Bad complementary football when they need it.
Yep.
Good complementary football when it's too late.
Yep.
Too little, too late. Again, not a winning recipe. You saw it towards the end of the game. Great complementary football. Defense was making stops. Offense was driving the football. But again, when they need to get a fresh start, when they need to start fast, that's what that team, they need to start fast to win football games. Both the games that they've won so far, they've started fast. Complementary football from the first snap to the last snap.
Yep.
They don't have enough talent to decide to turn the switch. The switch needs to be on the entirety of the game.
Right.
Or you'll get games like that against the Falcons, where they should have won that game and everybody knows it, but it was too little too late. It was too little too late.
Yeah, and hopefully the second half of the season will look a little more consistent.
I'm very excited for the second half of the season.
Christian McCaffrey should be back at some point.
Yep.
Sooner rather than later.
Yeah, when?
Right, exactly.
I feel like that dude's been out the whole season.
Right, and I think they're being patient with him.
Oh, it's smart.
He literally is their bank account.
Yeah. And the savings, he's everything. Checking, the savings, the credit card, he's everything.
Load it up.
Everything.
But yeah, so I think this team has a potential to really make a push in the NFC, especially because the NFC is very top-heavy, where the top 4 teams are really good, and then the rest are very
pretty mediocre. Yeah, middle of the pack.
16. We have our halfway point of the rankings. What you got?
Okay, so 16. We decided on the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes.
Las Vegas Raiders. We were a little bit back and forth between the Raiders and the Dolphins.
Yep.
But we decided on the Raiders because